Welcome back. On this Burnout Extra, I'm going to show you how to change a starter in a 2014 Honda Accord. So just follow along these steps. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button down bottom, definitely subscribe, slap the notification bell, because then you get notified every time we post a video, which is about twice a week. So be sure to subscribe, help us out. It helps the channel, it helps us grow, and all things of good kind. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is disconnect the battery. So you're gonna wanna pop the hood and disconnect the battery, because the two wires at the starter are actually live wires all the time, because that's how you start your car when you turn the key. So the best thing to do would be take off the negative cable or take off the positive cable from the battery, and that way there is no charge to those cables when you're removing the starter itself. And then from there, you're gonna jack up the car, get it off the ground so that you can get underneath, or if you have a lift, put it on the lift. Today, I'm gonna use some car ramps. So I'm gonna jack up the car, put it on the car ramps, and that will allow me to get underneath to where the starter is under the engine. But it's key that you disconnect the battery first.
Okay, so once you're under the car, you're going to want to be looking for this starter up here. Now, it is tricky to find at first. However, if you find the oil drain plug, which is located right here, that's where you drain the oil to the oil pan, then you can look directly up into the engine and you'll see the starter tucked up there. There is this bar in your way, but believe it or not, once you get the starter out, it will come out the side no problem. There's plenty of space to maneuver it down and out. Another thing to be cautious of is this exhaust pipe right here will be hot if you just drove the car. That goes all the way to the front of the engine. It is advised that you just be careful that the engine is now cooled down and ready to go in that sense. And I'll show you the new starter right now so that you can see how those bolts go in exactly.
So this is the new starter right here. The bolt I pointed out while inside the car is actually this one down here, and then there's one on the top as well. And these plugs that you see on top of the starter are actually where the wires connect to start your car. So one of these is live, and then there's a ground that goes to one of these ground bolts as well. But regardless, it sits in the car just like this. And then, like I said, the bolt I first pointed out was this one right here. So they're both gonna come out this way. One's gonna be closer to the top of the engine, one's going to be visible from the bottom side. And then once those two bolts are out, you can pretty much pull the starter out of the position it's originally in, and then you will need to disconnect the two wires that are attached. So I'm gonna go underneath and then take out the old one right now.
Okay, so I am able to get a 14mm socket with an extension and a ratchet on it, and all I need to do now is pull down and loosen them. After you remove this green clip that's stuck inside this little square here, there will be a ground that comes off the starter that goes right inside this clip. I don't know if you can see that moving, but you'll need to pry back this little plastic piece and slide the ground out the other side. And that will come last, or that will be one of the three connections at least that are connected onto the starter. So once again, that little piece you have to pry backwards, and then the whole bracket, metal bracket, will slide out the bottom. And then this one here is one of the other plugs that needs to be removed. You'll see this little track on the back. You can actually push that piece in right like this with a screwdriver, and this plug will need to come off the starter as well. Finally, there will be your positive connection. This will be a bolt that goes through. It should be a 12mm, and you'll need to disconnect that. And then this rubber goes over the top to protect it afterwards. So once you've removed that, it should be good to go.
So just for a recap outside of the car on the new starter, this is the ground piece. So this is where that green piece will go into that square. And then this little portion right here will actually slide into the black bracket I was talking about before. That one plug that was kind of square looking, that goes right into this, and it should just snap right on that way. And then finally, the 12mm positive connection is right here. They give you a new nut with a lock washer to connect that as well. So when you're putting it in, you want 1, 2, and 3 connections on the starter before you actually put the final 2 bolts into place. The 2 bolts are actually tricky. They're gonna take a lot of patience to get that top bolt in, because you can't actually see the threads. So you have to kind of feel it out until you know it's in the right spot. And once you've tightened those 2 bolts, made sure the connections are strong, and then tucked up any wires that you may have loosened otherwise, then you're good to go. At this point, you want to come back under the hood after you've let the car down and reconnect the positive battery terminal that you took off originally. This will allow the juice to go from the battery to the starter and start it like it normally should. So what I'm gonna do right now is fire it up for the first time. You'll see that the starter will turn it over no problem. So that's gonna be all for this Burnout Extra. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like the video if this helped you out, and definitely subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. We have content and tutorials coming out all the time here on The Burnout Show. So once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully this helped.